Sheryl wants a quilt that brings old and modern together. Sue has a project that she keeps putting aside. Tina is trying to match a fabric that just jumped out at her and she had to have it. Let's help them out. Hi, it's Fran Morgan with Fabric Café, and I'm your fabric matchmaker. Bold fabrics are so much fun, but sometimes they can be quite a challenge to match. And then, what pattern do you put them in? Well, today, our participants have bold fabrics that they can't seem to find a home for. So we're going to look at some ideas on how to match those fabrics. Plus, I'm going to show you some of my failed early attempts and why I changed directions. Let's check out the first one. Now, our first fabric was sent in by Sheryl. And I have to say, Sheryl, whenever I opened the package, I was like, ooh, this is fun. I love the really strong graphic elements on this. We have circles in black and white here. We have the lines in the background going different directions of some smaller circles that overlap and really give us a lot of interest. It's very cool. All right, let's find out what Sheryl has to say about this. Sheryl writes, "Hello, I bought this fabric back in the late 1960s. I made a dress from it and wore it all through high school. Why did I buy so much? I feel this needs more than just black or white. I'd like to make a quilt bringing old and modern together. Please help so I can get this piece used. Thanks for your help, Sheryl." Sheryl, I think we have something really fun for you. Let's go check it out. Now, Sheryl, I put your fabric in the Levity pattern, and this is really one of my favorites. And what we've got here is a rectangular block here, and then here. You can see how we've rotated it. And then it is bordered with a really quick strip piece on both sides of the block. We've just turned that strip piece. It all comes together, and it creates this neat secondary pattern, as you can see here and here. Now, it's very cool too, because your focus fabric is going to be in this larger rectangle. Now, this is a super fast pattern to put together. It has that little modern edge, but it is so fast to make, very minimal cutting, very fast sewing. Now, Sheryl, I placed your fabric in the #1 position, which is the focus position. Your print is very bold and graphic, and that really needed to shine in the quilt. That's what needed to stand out. Now, whenever you have a really bold graphic print like this, it really is key to put two other fabrics with it that are a little bit more simple. Now, you can have a texture like I'm about to show you in our #2 position, but if you put another print with a really bold graphic fabric, it's going to compete with each other. I did not want that to happen. So I wanted yours to shine and be the focus. So here it is in our focus position, and it goes everywhere you see this circle dot here in this rectangle here on our quilt. Now for our #2, I chose a turquoise. Now this turquoise actually looks like it's painted, and it kind of has this artistic feeling of canvas that's been touched up with paint. I think it's very cool. And it's turquoise. I didn't want to just go white. And we've put that in the #2 position. That goes everywhere the gray white is here. Now, of course, we've anchored it with a great black because we want everything to be framed beautifully. The black has some great texture, a little smaller than our #2. It is going to go everywhere you see the turquoise on this quilt and a lot on the border. That is going to anchor it and frame it really, really well. And I think it's going to have this neat retro but modern feel in the Levity pattern. Now, I didn't start out with the Levity pattern. I went through a couple patterns to begin with, and I'm going to tell you, I was surprised because, as I mentioned, I was really excited about working with this fabric because it had this graphic element that I really love. So the first thing I did is I went and I pulled a really modern quilt, and I thought, oh, this is going to be so cool in the background, and we've got this turquoise and black that'll just bring it all together, and it didn't work. And it was so surprising to me. So I thought that I knew exactly what to do. And have you ever been there and then you started doing it and it didn't work? And as you can see, the focus fabric falls into a background position. I think it was going to be a really cool way to like look through the grid and then see this print in the background. But instead what happened is the piecing kind of interfered with the print. It made it too busy. Your brain was looking at the piecing and all the lines on that. It just didn't work. It got way too busy. So I went back to the drawing board and I picked another pattern. Pavilion is a much more simple pattern to put something in. There was a nice big block that I could use, but what I wasn't thinking about whenever I did this is the alternate big block was for the fabric number 3. And it just had this big black square. And I didn't like that. It just seemed like your eye was drawn directly to that square. And that's not what we want. We want our eye to be drawn to the focus fabric. So I went back to the drawing board. We tried Levity with this, and I think it turned out perfect. In the focus position, it does not compete with the other 2 fabrics. Your eye was drawn to that focus fabric. The fabric 2 and 3 played the appropriate supporting roles. It has a nice balance across the surface, and I think it just worked perfectly, and it was the clear winner for me. So Sheryl, I want to thank you so much for participating today. I learned a lot by working with your fabric, and I hope you have too. For participating, I am going to be sending you 1 yard of the fabric 2 and 3, as well as the Make It Easy book that has the Levity pattern in it. So Sheryl inspired something very similar for everyone else, and I was able to find this big circle black and white graphic fabric, which I think is so much fun. And it has little circles in the background, kind of like hers. Once again, we are putting this in the focus position in the rectangle here. I have paired it with the same number 2, this turquoise blue that just has all of this movement from the brush stroke. It goes everywhere you see the gray here. And then the black, which is also textured. And I think the texture really helps kind of balance that. I love the lights and the darks and the texture. This one is going to go everywhere you see the turquoise here and that little bit on the border. I really, really like how the 2 and 3 fabric create a secondary pattern in there, much like Sheryl's fabric did, so that it's nice and balanced across the surface of the quilt. That focus fabric really pops off and draws you in. I think it is so, so cool. So let me get you the kit information on this. It is called Retro Dreams, and it is the Levity pattern from the Make It Easy with 3 Yard Quilts. Now Sue sent in our next fabric, and I thought it was great. We have kind of a linear stripe here that's kind of got a lot of movement to it, and there is every color under the sun in this fabric. We have rust and royal blue and purple and red and yellow and green. It goes many different shades of green, many different shades of red, many different shades of purple. There's a lot going on. It is definitely what I would consider a bold fabric. And you know, you kind of gave me a little bit of a test on this one. Let's read what Sue has to say about this fabric. So Sue writes, "This piece of fabric has been hanging out with me for over 15 years. I went to a quilt expo with a friend about the same time I started to quilt. I keep putting this aside, waiting to find the best coordinates and the best pattern. It is time to give this piece a home. Any help is appreciated." Sue, I think after some work, we found the perfect thing. Now, Sue, we have given your fabric a new home, and that is the Nebula pattern. This is a really fun pattern. It is minimal half square triangles. It is a 1 block, which is really cool. We've combined our half square triangles with some squares and some rectangles. We've turned the block and we've made this great kind of twirling star. And what's really cool is your fabric is going to be perfect in this number 1 position. Can't wait to share it with you. Let's go check it out. Now, before I show you the final fabrics I chose for Sue's fabric, let me show you first a combination I tried that did not work. Now, my thinking on this, we have a great multicolored stripe, and I thought, okay, this could be a supporting fabric, in the number 3 position, and I could put a really great focus fabric with it because all of these colors are here and I could pull that out in a focus fabric. And in doing that, I needed a pattern that had a big block and a great place to put the stripe. So my first thought was Gatsby. And whenever I started placing the fabric in Gatsby, I thought the stripe worked really, really well, like on the border and in that kind of box effect that the piecing gives. I really liked that. But then the big block for the focus, it just seemed to compete just a little bit too much with Sue's fabric. I really wanted Sue's fabric to shine, and this was too much going on. It just didn't quite work. So I needed to tone it down just a little bit. So I then thought, well, let's try this stripe as a focus fabric and see what happens. So I ended up doing something very similar as I did with Sheryl's quilt. I put Sue's fabric in the number 1 position, and I paired it with 2 textural prints that read a little bit more solid, but still have some movement in them. So here we go. We have our focus fabric here with our stripe, which is Sue's fabric, and I put that in everywhere you see the stripe on the Nebula here. Then I paired it with this great creamy off-white texture. It has a lot of movement in it, and I really think it worked with Sue's fabric because it has all of these tones in the background of her fabric. And this is going to go everywhere you see the white and blue on this quilt. Now for the little punch and to help anchor it, I paired it with this great kind of brick red, rusty red. This red is going to go everywhere you see the blue pin dot here. I want to talk about one more thing I did. I actually tried it in another quilt, and I tried it in my favorite quilt pattern, which is Gemstones. I really wanted it to work because I thought that the way the blocks are bordered, that the stripe would work really well in that. What happened was whenever I put that great number 2 in the background, it just seemed like too much number 2. It was too much cream, and there wasn't enough of the color coming through of the focus fabric. And I really want the focus fabric to shine more than it did. Lastly, I tried this Nebula pattern, and you know, it worked perfectly. It has some of the elements that I really wanted to show off her fabric. One, we have a 1 block that is bordered on 2 sides. And her fabric not only went into the center of the star here, it also created a border on the side of the block. And the stripe in that position just gave it extra movement because it went different directions. This also offered an opportunity to put the stripe on the border, which I loved. Anytime I can put a stripe on a border or on a binding, I just think it's the coolest thing. And hers worked so well in that position. Now, Sue, for participating and sending in your fabric swatch, I am going to be sending you 1 yard of the number 2, 1 yard of the number 3, as well as the book Go Bold with 3-Yard Quilts that has the Nebula pattern in it. So Sue's stripe inspired me to find another stripe that had lots of color in it. So I was able to find this beautiful fabric. Now, it's not a true stripe. It just has that movement like a stripe. And I like that it's very abstract and all the colors come into play. We have purples and reds and greens and creams and golds, and it's all there very similarly to Sue's fabric. So, and of course that is going to go everywhere you see the green and blue stripe, in the center of our little star here, and a little on the border, and this is going to be so great. I cannot wait to share it with you. Then for our number 2, we have picked the same creamy gold. There's movement in the background and the stars are spinning, and that's going to go everywhere the white is. Then for our number 3, we have the same kind of really great brick red, and you see how beautiful it looks with our focus fabric. I think it just works so perfectly. Now this is going to be our stars, our half square triangle points here for our stars, as well as 1 border on our block and on the border of our quilt. This is going to give us so much contrast against our number 2. Just like in Sue's quilt, you can really, really see how the bits of color in the center of the star just really draws your eye in. And then that background has that great movement. The number 3 gives us that contrast that we need to really see the points on that star and frames it all out beautifully. Now, let me get you the kit information on this. It is called Quilter's Journey, and the pattern is Nebula from the Go Bold with 3-Yard Quilts book. Now Tina sent in our next fabric, and wowee, it is so much fun. We have a black background with all of these different colors moving in such a harmonious in and out way. We have swirls and circles. All of these little lines are different colors. We have purples and blues and greens and oranges and reds, and it's very cool. So let's see what she has to say about her fabric. Tina writes, I've been quilting for some time now with my mom. We do a lot of crafts together. You walk into a store and boom, a piece of material jumps out. I'd love to see what you would match up with this, along with a pattern you think is best suited for the design. Well, Tina, I know that boom feeling, and this is a boom fabric. Let's find out what we're going to use in a pattern. Now, this is our elemental pattern, and Tina, I think your fabric is going to be perfect for this pattern. This is a cool one. It is actually made with a whole lot of strip piecing. And when you strip piece, things go so fast. So we have 2 blocks here. The first block is this one right here. This very center section is strip pieced, and then we've just sewn 2 strips on each side. That's gonna go super fast. Now, our secondary block, which is here, we have a strip piece right in the middle. We've just cut off a unit, so we have these squares. Then we have another strip piece on this side with 2 fabrics. We've rotated it, cut those pieces off, rotated it, put it up here on the other side, and it kind of does this modern take on a rail fence, which is really cool. Tina, with your fabric, I placed it in the number 1 position because I really think it needs to be the star of the show, of course. But in doing so, I needed to be very careful about selecting my fabrics 2 and 3. I didn't want anything that overwhelmed your fabric once again. So we've got it in the number 1 position, and I like your fabric because it almost looks like they're very thin lines. So for our number 2, I picked something that also had very thin lines. It was a little bit more of a subtle print when it comes to color, so it wasn't competing with your fabric, which was very important. Then I put it with a nice black that has some texture, but mimicked the same thing. We have movement and swirls and that same feeling, but once again, it's just a tone-on-tone black so that it's not competing with your fabric, which was very important to me. So my initial thought was that this would be cool in a star pattern. The swirly fabric would look like energy spinning around the stars, and I think it would have been really fun. I felt that the larger print didn't work though and created more of a chaotic feeling in the crystalline pattern. It just was cut up too much, and I didn't prefer that. I wanted something that really highlighted the focus, so I needed a bigger block with a more simple pattern to keep it from feeling that way. So I chose the next pattern, which was Skyline. This is gonna work, right? We've got these 2 simple prints, and we've got a great bold print. I was really positive about this. And whenever I placed the fabric, I realized that maybe this pattern is too simple. Your eye went directly to the white and black instead of the focus. We wanted it more balanced so that your eye was drawn to the focus. And then I tried the elemental pattern, and I think it worked perfectly. So let's first talk about our fabric positions and where I've placed them on the quilt. So Tina's fabric is in the focus position, and that is going to go in the center of this block as well as the strips on the alternate block. Our number 2 fabric goes right in the center here on this alternate block as well as a bit on the border. And then our number 3, this great black and this movement is going to frame our focus fabric, just like this blue does here. And then we have a little bit in the center of our alternate block. Because the focus fabric was in this larger area here, you could really see it. And with the number 3 fabric bordering it, it like framed it, so your eye really went there. We also have the focus fabric in these strips. And what this did is it just kind of connected each of the blocks so that it kept it unified and your eye followed that focus fabric. So that was the focus, which is what our goal is to really check out this fabric. Our number 2 fabric took a little bit more of a back seat in this quilt, so it wasn't the first thing your eye was drawn to. which it's the number 2, it's the supporting roll, which is what it should be doing, and it does it perfectly here. But I'm gonna tell you, I had to try these several different ones to get just the right pattern on these very unique and fun bold fabrics. So Tina, thank you so much for sending in your fabric. We are gonna be sending you 1 yard of your number 2 fabric and 1 yard of your number 3 fabric, as well as the book Make It Easy, which has the elemental pattern in it. Now, I was able to find this really cool graphic fabric that's also very bold with lots of color and lots of movement, which is very similar to Tina's in the fact that we have all the swirls and movement going on. Our focus fabric, as we said, it's going to go in the center of our block here, as well as the strips here to help our eye travel across that quilt. For our number 2, we have this same great graphic number 2. It's a very subtle graphic, not too bold to compete with our number 1. And it's going to go in the center here, as well as on our border here. And then our number 3, to frame it all together, we've still got some of that really fun movement in the texture, but not too much so that it competes. It's going to frame our focus, and it's going to be in our strip piece in the middle here and that little bit on the border. I love how cool this is. You know what's really neat is I love the focus fabric on the outer border. I think it just pulls it all together, frames it like a nice picture frame, and you can really see all the focus fabric in those blocks in the center, framed out by the number 3, and it's just so cool. This is going to go together in no time as well. It's a super simple pattern. All right, this kit is called Sewing Synergy. It's the elemental pattern from the Make It Easy with 3-Yard Quilts book. I'd like to share with you Cassandra's quilt that she did. She sent in fabric to the episode 10, and we matched it up with a pattern and 2 coordinating fabrics. We put it in the Delight pattern. I think this turned out great, Cassandra. I love what you did. Great job. And you know, it really pops. I love all the pinks and blues and greens together. It is really, really pretty. And I want to thank everyone who participated today. If you would like to have us match your fabrics, then head on over to our website, fabriccafe.com. Check out the free goodies tab in the tips and guide sheets section to find the Matchmaker submission form. Download and print that out and send it to us with your stories and your fabric swatch. If you would like to see some of the other ways I've changed up patterns with bold fabrics, be sure to watch the video that pops up. It's Fran Morgan, your fabric matchmaker.